There is a moment that happens to almost everyone, usually sometime after 50, and almost nobody sees it coming. It is a fall. It is not an injury. It is smaller than that and quieter than that. It is the half-second of hesitation before stepping off a curb, the tiny grab for a railing that wasn't needed 5 years ago, the pause before turning around quickly in a crowded room. If you have felt that moment, you already know it does not feel like weakness. It feels caution. But what if that caution is actually your body sending you a signal? One that has almost nothing to do with how many steps you took today. Most people over 50 walk. They walk for their heart, for their mood, for their doctor, for their dog. And walking deserves its reputation. It genuinely supports cardiovascular health, mood regulation, and metabolic function, and no honest conversation about aging well should dismiss it. But here is the question almost nobody asks out loud. If walking is so good for you, why do so many people who walk every single day still struggle to rise from a low chair without using their hands, still feel unsteady on uneven ground, still notice their balance is not what it used to be? The answer is uncomfortable, but it is not mysterious. It has to do with a distinction most fitness advice quietly skips over: the difference between movement and training. Walking is repetitive, forward, and low in resistance. Your nervous system, remarkably efficient at conserving energy, learns the pattern quickly and then does something almost sneaky. It's it. Once a movement becomes automatic, your brain stops recruiting many of the deeper stabilizing muscles that a more demanding, less predictable movement would require. In plain terms, walking becomes so easy for your body that it stops asking your body to adapt. This is not a flaw in walking. It is simply the nature of any highly repeated, single-plane motion, and it explains why someone can walk 5 miles a week and still lose strength in the very muscles responsible for keeping them upright, balanced, and safe from a fall. So which muscles are we talking about? Mostly the ones you cannot see working, tucked deep around the hips, the pelvis, the shoulder girdle, and the small stabilizers around every major joint. These are not the muscles that make you look strong. They are the muscles that keep you strong when nobody is watching, when you twist suddenly to catch something falling, when you step onto a surface that shifts slightly under your foot, when you reach overhead and your whole body has to organize itself around that reach without you thinking about it at all. Researchers who study aging and mobility have a term for this collective capacity: functional reserve. And it turns out functional reserve does not decline evenly. It tends to erode fastest in exactly the systems that walking barely touches. Here is where the story gets more interesting, because the decline itself is not really about muscle. It is about communication. Your body relies on a constant, mostly unconscious conversation between your inner ear, your eyes, the pressure sensors in your joints, and your brain. This conversation is what allows you to stand on one leg while putting on a shoe, or catch yourself the instant your foot slips on a wet tile, all without a single conscious decision. Scientists call this proprioception, and it is arguably more important to healthy aging than raw muscle strength, because strength without coordination is like having a powerful engine with no steering wheel. The unsettling part is that this internal communication system, gradually and silently starting in midlife, and walking, precisely because it is so predictable, gives that system almost no reason to stay sharp. This is not about fear. It is a story about attention and about where we choose to place it. Because once you understand that balance, hip mobility, postural strength, and reactive stability are trainable qualities, not fixed traits handed to you by age, the entire conversation shifts. You stop asking, "How do I slow down the inevitable?" and start asking, "What is my body actually asking for that it has not been getting?" Let's start with the hips, because almost every functional limitation after 50 traces back to them in some way. Your hips are not a hinge, the way most people imagine them. They are one of the most mechanically complex joints in the human body, capable of moving in multiple directions at once, and they are meant to. But modern life, with its chairs, car seats, and couches, keeps the hips locked in a narrow forward and back range for most of the day, and walking simply continues that same narrow pattern. Over years, the muscles responsible for opening the hips sideways, the adductors, the deep rotators, the pelvic floor, quietly shorten and weaken from disuse. This is one of the most misunderstood truths in aging fitness. People assume hip stiffness is simply a symptom of age. In reality, in most healthy adults, it is largely a symptom of a body that has not been asked to move sideways or rotate in years, not decades of unavoidable decline. When those hip muscles are neglected, the effects ripple outward in ways that rarely get connected back to their true cause. Lower back pain that seems to come from nowhere, a subtle heaviness when standing up from a low seat, a pelvis that no longer stabilizes evenly, which quietly changes the way you walk without you noticing, shifting more strain onto the knees. Gently reintroducing lateral hip opening, controlled low-impact movements that stretch and activate the inner thighs and deep hip rotators can restore range of motion that many people assume is permanently gone. It is not about becoming flexible like a dancer. It is about reclaiming the basic architecture your hips were built with in the first place. From the hips, the story moves to what exercise physiologists often call the body's power plant, the glutes. It is almost poetic that the largest, strongest muscle group in the human body is also one of the most functionally forgotten. Walking barely recruits the glutes in any meaningful way, particularly with the shorter, shuffling steps that naturally develop as people age and unconsciously protect against instability. Weak glutes do not announce themselves directly. Instead, they show up disguised as other problems, a nagging ache in the lower back, stiffness in the knees, that unmistakable feeling of the torso tipping forward slightly when walking, which is actually the body compensating for a posterior chain that is no longer doing its job. Strengthening the glutes does something that goes beyond aesthetics, or even strength in the traditional sense. It restores hip extension, the ability to fully straighten the hip behind you, which is essential for climbing stairs without strain, standing tall without effort, and protecting the lower spine from carrying weight it was never meant to carry alone. There is also a quieter, less discussed benefit. Loading the glutes and hips through controlled resistance sends a mechanical signal to bone tissue, stimulating the kind of adaptive response associated with maintaining bone density. An increasingly important consideration for both men and women as they move through midlife and beyond. None of this, a gym. A slow, controlled bridging motion, lying on the back and lifting the hips using the glutes rather than the lower back, performed consistently, can begin restoring this connection within weeks. Now shift attention upward to a part of the body walking essentially ignores altogether: the back, shoulders, and the muscles responsible for pulling. Modern posture has a well-documented tendency to drift forward, shoulders rounding, upper back rounding, head tipping slightly ahead of the spine, largely a byproduct of hours spent looking at screens, driving, and sitting. This is not simply a cosmetic concern. A forward collapsed posture physically compresses the chest cavity, subtly restricting breathing capacity, and places continuous low-level strain on the neck and upper spine that compounds over years. Walking, however brisk, does virtually nothing to counteract this pattern, because it involves almost no pulling motion at all. Reintroducing pulling movements, even gentle, joint-friendly versions using nothing more than body weight and a resistance band or towel, retrains the muscles across the upper back and shoulders that are responsible for standing tall without conscious effort. There is a detail here that surprises most people. Grip strength, something almost nobody associates with long-term health, has repeatedly shown up in population research as a meaningful marker of overall physical resilience in older adults. It is not that a strong grip itself prevents illness. It is that grip strength tends to reflect the condition of the broader muscular and nervous system, making it a kind of quiet barometer for how well the whole body is holding up. Training the pull, engaging the back, shoulders, and hands together in a controlled reaching and drawing motion, rebuilds a pattern that upright, independent movement has always depended on, long before modern life gave us reasons to stop using it. Then there is stillness, which sounds like the opposite of exercise, but may be one of the most underrated forms of it. Walking is entirely about motion, momentum carrying the body forward. But a great deal of real-world stability depends on the ability to hold your own body weight steady, without momentum to help you, for even a few seconds. Think of catching yourself on a moving bus, steadying yourself while reaching into a high cabinet, or simply standing calmly while someone bumps into you in a crowded space. None of these moments involve walking. All of them involve static strength and control. A wide, grounded standing posture, knees bent, weight held evenly, spine tall, trains exactly this kind of stability. It is an ancient position, used for centuries in various martial and movement traditions, precisely because it builds strength that does not depend on motion to exist. Holding this kind of position also does something for the nervous system that is easy to underestimate. Because it demands sustained focus and controlled breathing, it tends to lower the general state of physiological arousal, the low hum of tension many people carry without realizing it, offering a side benefit that has less to do with muscle and more to do with the mind's relationship to the body. Finally, consider the sense most people never think to train at all, the vestibular system, housed deep in the inner ear, responsible for telling your brain which way is up and how fast your head is turning relative to the world around you. This system works constantly and invisibly, and it is precisely why sudden head movement, combined with a shift in balance, turning to check for oncoming traffic while stepping off a curb, glancing sideways while walking on uneven pavement, can occasionally produce a flash of dizziness or unsteadiness that seems to come out of nowhere. Walking in a straight line, staring ahead, gives this system almost no reason to stay sharp, because it is never truly challenged. Deliberately combining single-leg balance with head movement, something as simple as standing on one leg near a wall for support and slowly turning the head side to side, forces the inner ear, the eyes, and the stabilizing muscles of the ankle and core to coordinate in real time. This is not an exotic or advanced skill. It is closer to physical therapy than fitness, and it directly targets the exact combination of movement and distraction that tends to precede real-world falls, which research consistently identifies as one of the most significant threats to independence in later life. Not because falling itself is common on a given day, but because the consequences, once it happens, can be so disproportionately severe. Taken together, these 5 areas, hip mobility, glute strength, upper body pulling capacity, static stability, and vestibular balance, tell a story that walking alone was never designed to tell. This is not a criticism of walking. It is a more complete picture of what the human body actually needs to remain capable, coordinated, and confident as the decades accumulate. And there is something genuinely hopeful buried in this science. Unlike some aspects of aging that truly are outside our control, the systems responsible for balance, stability, and functional strength remain remarkably responsive to training well into later life. Study after study on older adults shows measurable improvements in balance, coordination, and fall risk after just a few months of targeted movement, even in people who had never trained these qualities before in their lives. Perhaps the most important shift is not physical at all, but psychological. Many people quietly begin to define their aging body by what it can no longer do, treating stiffness, hesitation, or a small stumble as evidence of an ending. But the body does not actually work that way. Unused capacity does not vanish, it goes dormant, waiting for a reason to come back online. The muscles around the hips have not forgotten how to open. The back has not forgotten how to pull. The inner ear has not forgotten how to steady you. They have simply not been asked, in years, sometimes decades, to do the very things they were built for. So here is the real question worth sitting with long after this video ends. Not whether you should keep walking, because you absolutely should. The real question is what your body has been quietly asking for that walking alone was never going to provide. Strength is not measured in what you can lift. Balance is not only tested on a single day. Independence, real independence, the kind that lets you rise from a chair without thinking about it, catch yourself without fear, and move through your life without hesitation, is built in small, consistent moments most people never notice until they are gone. The good news, the part worth carrying with you, is that it can also be rebuilt the same quiet way it was lost, one deliberate, unglamorous movement at a time.